What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Lakers Outsiders podcast slash stream. We've got kind of something different today. We are bringing you a game preview, and it's only fitting that it's against the Green Bastards, the Boston Celtics. The Lakers and Celtics meet for the first time in 2021. Honi, last time these two met in Boston, it didn't go so well for the Lakers. So hopefully 2021 brings us some better tidings this time around.
I would like more of the variety of Lakers-Celtics games where Rajon Rondo hits a game winner for the Lakers against them.
Can we borrow him tonight?
You got ejected last night. Maybe he has some free time.
Can we sign William Rondo?
I'm just very happy to be here for the next installment of Sports' Greatest Rivalry. Not the Lakers and Celtics, but Honi and Gary.
You just got to appreciate a good rivalry. I mean, yeah, no, this should be a really interesting game. The Lakers, obviously, it's been kind of a rough go for them this week, losing a couple back-to-back games for the first time in forever. It definitely feels like, at least that was kind of their whole mantra last year, was don't lose back-to-back games, and I think they did going into or at the start of the bubble with games that really didn't matter to them because they had everything locked up as far as the number one seed and all that. Obviously, without a key player in Anthony Davis in the Detroit game, the Philly game very nearly came back and absolutely stole that game with a late push. How concerned are we right now about the Lakers? Are we kind of worried that they might be in a little bit of a slump, or is this kind of one of those things that it's a long season? You're just going to have, you're going to have some of those bad games.
It's mostly the second part, I think, as my voice cracks for some reason. I do.
Long podcast, you're going to have some voice cracks along the way.
I'm just very emotional. I do think it's more of a factor of like they're on the road. They've played back-to-back games. Sometimes you just have stinkers. The Sixers game, I think, wasn't really a stinker. It was just a really good game between two really good teams. And ultimately, they lost because Tobias Harris was incredible and hit a game winner.
He was 6 of 17 in the game after that. Just want to throw that out there.
I don't know if you would have counted. We didn't do which role players going off. I don't know if you would have counted, because there's some buzz for an all-star bid for Tobias Harris this year. Who knows,
I wouldn't consider him a role player, but it just goes to show you lose your superpowers the game after you play the Lakers. It always happens.
The Pistons game, a little bit more concerning because I think they just didn't play very well, especially in the second half. They scored like 30-something points in the second half, which is kind of insane on a team with this much talent, even without Anthony Davis. Again, not super concerned. Second night of a back-to-back, you just played a really tough game. You've been on the road for a while. Don't really care. I do think that it's at this point, like these last couple of games, we can't really use the excuse of they're not trying and that's why they're losing. I don't think the effort is always completely there, but I also don't think it's just like, oh, this is a bored team and they're not trying anymore. I think they are trying, but they just have some kinks to work out in terms of lineups, what players are working well together, which ones aren't. LeBron having a great first half and only scoring 2 points in the second half doesn't happen very often, but that's just, something that you got to deal with. And if Anthony Davis isn't playing, that obviously makes your margin for error a lot worse. And that was a night against the Pistons where I think he was not very good. I don't think Frank Vogel had his best coaching game. KCP wasn't hitting shots, even though he's been shooting over 50% from three. So there was a lot of reasons why they lost that game. And they were still in a position to win it until the last 4 or 5 minutes where they just completely unraveled. I'm not super concerned, but I do think that there are things to work out for this team beyond just, hey, let's try a little bit more.
I mean, that's where we disagree, I think, is that I'm going to use that excuse for every single loss. And if the Lakers don't win the title, it's because they got to the playoffs and they were still bored and they just didn't care all that much. And it wasn't that they got beat by a better team. So I'm going to stick to it. I think we've earned that right with not only the title, but then a really good offseason after that. So no, I mean, I'm not worried about this team. I mean, it's obviously not a full 82 game season, but it is 72 games. It's a pretty compact schedule off of a short off season, and you're going to have nights like that. You're going to have nights. Really, I mean, we saw it with the greatest teams of all time have had bad nights in the regular season. It's a long regular season with just 72 games, and you're just going to have nights like that. That's basketball. That's sports, especially pro sports, man. If you don't bring an energy or an intensity level that you need to, it doesn't matter how bad your opponent is. These are pro athletes. You're probably going to get beat. And, the Lakers with the Sixers game missed a lot of threes. They've had, obviously, they're a pretty good shooting three-point shooting team, but had one of those games where they couldn't really get much to go down until about the last few minutes. They did, and they went on a big run to retake the lead and just couldn't get a stop on the last possession. The Pistons game, it seemed like they just missed a ton of opportunities around the basket. And like I said, sometimes that's just basketball. The Lakers have a lot of guys on this team that I would trust to finish around the rim normally. Obviously, AD didn't play, but he's one of them. Kuzma, LeBron, obviously one of the best finishers around the basket we've ever seen. Montrezl Harrell, like you can go down the list. They've got guys on this team that can both hit threes and score around the basket. So it's just that's basketball, and you're going to have nights like that. And it sucks that they lost to a team like Portland. I think really probably their first loss to like a bad team this year that I can think of, because like the loss to San Antonio. They're not bad, at least. Plus they have Patty Mills, who turns into the Incredible Hulk against the Lakers and the Clippers too. Apparently, he just likes playing the LA teams. But
I will point out about the Pistons. They have like 5 wins all year. All of them are against like really good teams. They've beaten the Celtics, I think. They've beaten the Sixers, I believe. Although I think that was without Embiid, and a couple other like wins against legitimate playoff teams for some reason.
Yeah, and that was the thing, is like I remember tweeting about and laughing at the Celtics for giving the Pistons their first win of the year in Detroit, and then the Lakers go up there and do the same thing, basically. So that's the game. That's how it goes. That's a little bit of karma coming back, because I know a lot of Lakers Twitter laughed on that day that the Celtics went up there and lost. But turning our attention to the Celtics, what are some of the keys that you're looking at for this game? We do know that Anthony Davis is going to give it a go. So Lakers should be, relatively full strength. Obviously they're in the middle of a road trip and all that stuff, so you factor in some travel and whatnot. But coming off of back-to-back losses, can we expect a focused effort tonight, especially against these guys, right?
I would imagine. I think there's 2 things in factor. One, like you said, the Lakers just lost back-to-back games. That doesn't happen very often with this team. Last year, like you said, they lost some back-to-back games in the bubble, and then I think only one other time they had like a 4-game losing streak. But other than that, I'm pretty sure they did not lose back-to-back games. So I would expect them to come out with a lot more focus and energy just because of that. And then it's a rivalry game. Rivalry games, Lakers-Celtics games, it's kind of rare for them to be blowouts. It happens, obviously, but it's pretty rare for that to happen. And I think it's going to be a pretty close contested game, which is why, in my opinion, one of the major keys is going to be what lineup closes the game tonight. And, in the last 5 or 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, and how the Lakers are going to be able to defend a couple of, bigger wings in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, both of whom are having really, really great years and are probably all-stars this year.
Watch it.
And, we saw them, struggle a little bit with Tobias Harris, partially because he is sort of a bigger wing that he's stronger than most of the guys that the Lakers can put on him, except for, let's say, Anthony Davis and LeBron James. But obviously the Celtics have 2 of those guys in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who can rise up over anybody and take jumpers, especially if the Lakers have like Alex Caruso and KCP guarding them. We're both great defenders, but, against bigger wings, they can sometimes struggle because guys can just shoot over them. So I'm really excited to see, one, how Vogel matches up against those guys, who he puts on them, especially late in games, whether LeBron guards them, whether Kyle Kuzma guards them, or even Anthony Davis, which is something Vogel loves to do, is put Anthony Davis on wings. And then on the offensive end, just being able to execute who is your 5-man group that's going to be giving you the right combination of being able to score down low, draw fouls, and also hit threes and space the floor. One of the things that I think Vogel did wrong last game was sticking with Trez a little bit too long. I thought Mark Gasol should have closed that game a little bit earlier than he did. He came on in the last couple of minutes, but it was basically a done deal at that point. And, depending on how Trez plays, that might be the same way. Or now that they have AD, obviously he's going to probably play center. But that 5-man combination, especially late in the game, I think is going to be really, really important to whether they get the win or not.
Yeah, definitely. And, they do pose kind of an interesting challenge. And we saw it twice last year. Obviously, the rosters are different this year. Personnel is different and stuff like that. But those wings did cause the Lakers problem last year, especially that game in LA. Jason Tatum was really, really good. And the Lakers threw multiple bodies at him, and it pretty much didn't matter. But the Lakers were able to dig deep in LA to avenge the loss that they suffered in Boston last year. But who's take out LeBron and AD, who's the one Laker kind of on your mind that you think is kind of the X factor in this game, somebody that they're going to have to count on to play well in order to come out of Boston with a win?
I'll say Kyle Kuzma. I think Kuzma has been having a really, really good year, even if numbers might not show it because he's not scoring a ton, just because of how many good players are on this team. But I think his ability, to space the floor, as he's been shooting, close to 40% this year, run the floor alongside LeBron. He's a great finisher at the rim when he's in transition. And then most importantly, I think his defense. If he can bother at least one of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum for the 20 or so minutes that he's on the floor, or even more if he's playing well enough, then I think that gives the Lakers a really, really good chance at winning the game.
Yeah, I know. I agree. That would have been my first choice too. Was Kyle Kuzma for a lot of the stuff that you mentioned. They just need production out of that wing spot, and he's got to be able to knock down those open looks that he's going to have, and kind of give them that scoring punch. For me, I'll go with it in a different direction, which is funny because the guy I'm going to pick, I think, is I don't know. I think one of his backups should get more minutes, but I'm going to say Dennis Schroeder in this game going up against Kemba Walker. I think he's we saw him get it going a little bit in that game against Philly, kind of better late than never kind of thing. But then against Detroit wasn't very good in that game as well. I think he's been pretty good defensively, so I'm optimistic that he can do a decent job with Kemba. And I think the combination of Caruso and Schroeder can stymie Walker a little bit. Obviously, Kemba's the caliber of player that you're not going to stop a guy like that, but you can definitely, I think, limit the good looks that he gets, and you just kind of hope that he is an inefficient scorer, because he's definitely going to get shots up, and that's kind of the strength of his game, is scoring and playmaking. So hopefully the Lakers can limit him. But I think Schroeder, it'd be nice to see him really get it going tonight, knock down some threes, attack the basket, create some plays for himself and for others. I think that would be a huge lift for the Lakers, because I think they just need it out of that spot. They need that offense. Obviously, coming off the Detroit game where the offense was really, really bad, it'd be nice to see them bounce back and put up a lot of points and do it at an efficient clip tonight. But like I said, I think Schroeder's a key, but I would like to see Alex Caruso and even Taylor Horton-Tucker get some more minutes.
Yeah, and on the Schroeder point, I think beyond just this game, obviously this is what we're focusing on, but I think it would just be a great confidence boost for him as well to have a really good game. He's been having a rough month. I just looked it up. He's scoring 12 points a game with 4 assists a game in January, but only shooting 38% from the field and 27% from three. So I think him getting it going, especially against Kemba, who's not really a great defender, and kind of putting that sort of pressure on the Celtics defense, and pressure on Brad Stevens to see whether he can keep a dangerous player like him on the floor or not if the Lakers are attacking him every time. I think that's a huge part of this game. And on top of that, I would love to see a little bit. I don't remember which game it was that they ran a little bit of a Schroeder and LeBron pick and roll. It was either against the Pistons or the Sixers. I would love to get a couple of those opportunities in this game, because there's a good chance you get Kemba Walker guarding LeBron James on a switch if that happens. So yeah, I would be here for that.
All right, let's do our favorite game that we like to do. We're going to try and pick the Celtics role player that goes off tonight, because it seems like it's somebody. It's a role player just about at least every other game. Feels like an opposing role player goes nuts against the Lakers and then they return back to earth very swiftly in the next game. Honi, as always, I'll let you go first if you're ready to go. Who's the Celtics like role guy that the Lakers are going to have problems with tonight?
This is a good question. I think there's a very obvious pick. I don't know. I'm gonna ask you first if we should accept him as a role guy. Does Marcus Smart count as a role player for this?
That was gonna be my pick, so yes.
Okay, because he's absolutely hitting 8 threes tonight.
That's exactly the thought that crossed my mind was Marcus Smart, a guy you typically want shooting the basketball. And not that he can't hit shots. It's just that
he's definitely gotten a whole lot better at it too.
His shot selection is very up and down, to say the very least. But he's typically a guy that, hey, if he's shooting 7, 8 threes a game, you kind of live with it. In their last game, he was 2 of 7 from the three-point line. He was 6 of 15 overall. I mean, that's 15 shots to get 14 points in 39 minutes. I mean, that's usually the type of guy you want to be going up against. So that's who I said, who I would have said, because I'm fairly certain he's going to be like 8 of 11 from 3 tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. A couple major assists, a couple charges that put like Anthony Davis in foul trouble or something. I can feel it.
Another guy I will throw out, so we can have two. That way, I mean, if it's one of them, I can claim to be right either way. For some reason, I keep looking at Jeff Teague's name, and he only played 7 minutes the other night. But I could see him coming in that first stint that he gets and just lighting it up. And then Brad Stevens says, "All right, I'm gonna keep rolling it out there for a little bit," or like they get Kemba in foul trouble or something like that. And then Jeff Teague turns back the clock like 8 years, and all of a sudden is just really good again. So I don't know why his name just keeps jumping out at me.
I feel like Jeff Teague is due for one of his one good game in 15 type of nights.
Yeah, I mean, it would not surprise me at this point. So the game's the game, I guess. But luckily, the Lakers have not one, but 2 weapons against a guy like Jeff Teague or Marcus Smart or Kemba Walker. That's Alex Caruso and Talen Horton-Tucker. Frank Vogel, I know you're actually watching this right now.
I feel like you shouldn't. There's not that much time left until tip-off.
give my boys some minutes. I want THT and Caruso out there a little bit more tonight. So get it done.
Yeah, Frank Vogel should take Reddit's advice and buy stock and both those guys and hold. Take it to the moon.
The THT and Alex Caruso hedge fund. I'm just saying, THT, he hit all 3 of his threes, right? Against the Pistons? Yeah, he was 3 for 3 from 3-point. Yeah. He was really good. I'm just saying, give my boy some minutes, Frank. That's all I'm asking.
Deserves it, man. He deserves it.
I'm just showing love to. I'm just showing love to all the Laker point guards, like lead guards, today with Caruso, THT, and Dennis Schroeder. So that's where the Lakers are going to win this game. LeBron and AD are going to be awesome, but those Laker guards, and of course, I mean KCP is a guard too, but KCP is just great. Like we love KCP.
Bold prediction: we're going to have a Anthony Davis plus 4 guards lineup tonight. Let's go. I don't know why I feel that way, but it's going to happen.
Interesting. I have a feeling. I don't know. Maybe I should not be positive because I think I feel pretty good about this game, but I've also felt pretty good about the last couple games, and that didn't pan out too well. I don't know. It's hard for me to picture this team losing 3 games in a row, but at the same time, we've seen them not care for good portions of this season so far, and rightfully so, given where they're going to be and what they can realistically do. I don't know. I have a good feeling about this game. Celtics come into this game 10-7. I think they lost the other day. Their last game was against the Spurs, and then Lakers are 14-6. The Lakers are 3.5-point favorites, according to my handy dandy Yahoo Sports app here. Are we buying the Lakers minus 3.5 today?
Yeah, I'll take it. I think they'll win by a solid 5 or 6.
Solid 5 or 6. I'm feeling pretty good. I think the Lakers win. I think they cover, but Hey, that might be the Kester kiss of death right there. So I feel like for these previews we should do like some betting stuff, right? Like
I'm into it.
we got the line. The over under is 219.5. How are we feeling about that?
219.5. I'm taking the under on that.
I'm gonna take
I think we're gonna have
I'm gonna take the over.
Classic shitty shooting Lakers-Celtics game.
See, I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. Mainly just because you said the opposite. So no, I think the Lakers come out pretty focused tonight. I think it's and plus, you're going to have the Celtics role guys all of a sudden become Steph Curry, but I think the Lakers are going to bounce back offensively after a very poor, maybe honestly the worst game we'll see from them offensively all year in Detroit. And I think they bounce back in this game, and I don't know. I think it's a high-scoring game. I think the Lakers win, get back on the right track, and they get out of that damn city with a W. So
absolutely.
That's it. That's all I got. Game's going to tip off here in probably about 5 minutes or so. So enjoy the game, guys. Thank you so much for those of you that have tuned in. As always, whenever we do these, whether this is the first time we did a game preview, really, like right before tip-off, kind of fun. I'm looking into doing kind of a live stream during a game one of these times whenever I have some more free time and stuff, because I want to get like a live score like up on the screen and stuff like that, because I can't really show the game. I'm pretty sure that violates rules of YouTube and Twitch and Facebook, which we do these on. So facebook.com/Lakers Outsiders. Be sure to like and follow us there. You can follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Lakers Outsiders. And you can follow us on Twitch, or you can subscribe to us on Twitch if you want to support the site. It's only, I think, $6 a month. So it's super cheap, and it goes to our site on giving you guys more content, more consistently, and better content, and helps out a really good group of boys and girls that put a lot of hard work into the site. So, and of course, you can subscribe to us on YouTube as well. So, Honi, you can go follow him on Twitter at HONIAHM. You can follow me just at Gary Kester. I got to start putting this back up on the screen so it's a little easier. You can also follow my personal Twitch, where I'll always down to talk Lakers, sports, whatever. We got the Super Bowl coming up in like a week. Fun times, man. Fun times. My own personal Twitch is up on the screen right now under that latest subscriber column. Just Swish GK. And yeah, Honi, go Lakers.
Go Lakers.
Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. But enjoy the game. Have a good night. Be safe out there. So with Honi Ahmadian, I am Gary Kester and Lakers Outsiders, signing off.
Fuck the Celtics!